Hey, Francis.
Hello, Frederick. I'm just checking if the YouTube streaming is live.
It looks like I think it works.
So, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
And congratulations, first of all, to Frederick.
Yeah, well, sometimes things go well. So, and maybe you want to explain why you congratulated me. It's not that I'm having like a kid or something like that. So
Yeah, it's a big moment for Frederick and Linnaeus University and for all of us because he managed and secured a big pool of research funding on applied IoT. That means these activities on IoT in terms of course, in terms of research, and uh, working with people from industry and students will be extended to a larger scale.
exactly. So I got 7.5 million now. So that's so we're employing 2 postdocs and 2 research engineers already starting after this summer. So I've been busy and I'll be pretty busy during the next 2 weeks when there's interviews going on. So a lot of things are happening. So that's super fun. So actually this is Champagne. And maybe this is not state-owned television, so I might get away with it. But and it's Friday afternoon. But well, cheers.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's not why we're here today, is it?
No, obviously not. And we have some activities that
You're sharing your whole screen now, so not only the that maybe was the point.
Mhm. Is it good now?
It's very small, but well,
I don't know what's the problem, but I just wanted to also see if there are any questions on.
I can take the questions.
So, what we were doing this week, on Monday we had this very interesting talk by Thomas on Sensebox, where they showcased their products, their activities they are doing in terms of education, in terms of citizen science. And indeed, it was an interesting talk, and we learned the concept citizen science in depth. And then on Tuesday, you had this session with Simon from DataCake.
Yeah.
And I guess it was also a great learning experience for all of us. So
Absolutely.
how did you feel with DataCake?
Yeah, I think that was a really good start on actually being like looking into the low-code IoT platforms. And I was devising. I mean, we talked earlier when we were to do this this session, and so his idea was, oh well, let's try to see if we can get some data from PyBytes on board to DataCake. So he showed that full chain, and if you haven't seen that, if you're looking at this video blog now and you missed out on the session with Simon, I think that's a really good way for you to get your hands a little bit dirty and getting some data on a dashboard out there. And we are now starting to like get into, so to say, the gist of the course.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people I've been following have been struggling a lot with coding and getting your hands on an IDE for the first time, and I see that it's a lot of sensors that has been connected, and there are discussions on resistors and LEDs and all those kind of things. but now we're emerging into the area where, okay, your data is supposed to end up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that somewhere could be data cake, it could be PyBytes, it could be like any of the, I'm not sure, maybe it's 50 platforms out there that we can use for this kind of stuff, Adafruit, Ubidots, etc. But data cake could absolutely be one. And when you've done that, actually you don't really need to do much more other than document it thoroughly according to the instructions, which we'll talk about. But you'll be able to get like fulfill most of the course goals.
Yes.
Just by that. Yeah.
So this is also the main part or main body of our course.
Yeah.
Report. Yes, and then we had this premiere of basic Python programming on Wednesday, and it seems many of you already watched the video. And following that video, the quiz on Python or basic Python is also open now, so you can take any time you prefer. And I think it will be open until August 6th, but the due date is July 16th. Obviously, you can plan your own activities on the quizzes, and they are open for multiple opportunities. The minimum requirement is that you get 60%, or if there are 20 questions, you will get right at least 12 of them, and that should be okay. But if you want to learn more and you want to get correct all of them, you can try it multiple times, and that just make sure that you finished all the 4 quizzes. And without finishing the quizzes, you will not be assigned a grade either. And then, yes, the workshops that we had on Tuesday and Thursday. So I guess all the students started working their hardware. And did you get any positive feedback or any concern from the students on the hardware?
Actually, I'm the wrong person to ask. I must say a big shout out to. I mean, I'm trying to follow. Actually, I'm trying to follow from the side what's been happening in the workshops, and I must say that I'm so impressed by our TAs. I know that they were going to do a great job, but they have managed to do much better job than I than I thought was possible. So from my end, it's all good. I would say it's all going really well. So, and also you often hear if something isn't good. So, and I've only heard the opposite. So that it seems to be going very well.
At this stage, we should expect that all of them received their hardware or got their hardware, right?
Yeah, and it seems. I mean, I think this is a really good thing that we've managed to do in this course is to get ElectroKit on board. I think that Jim from ElectroKit has been in answering questions directly in the Discord channel. I mean, every week. I think he was in talking just the other day. And this is, well, I guess it's helpful for them as well, because people might be wondering the same thing as someone else asks. And instead of getting 50 support mails, they actually save a lot of time. And we also have a direct connection to the supplier in the course. One of the suppliers. No one is forced to buy from ElectroKit. It's just a way to make things easier. So,
yeah. As a side note, I mean, if you are still waiting for your hardware, you might want to speed up, because you might have trouble finishing your projects, considering that we are already in the first week of July. So the best guess is that everyone got their hardware and you started playing with your hardwares and sensors and LEDs.
Yeah. And I haven't seen, maybe that is one thing that the TAs know, but I haven't really asked. But I guess that most people are working with PyCom devices. I know we had some discussions in the beginning if we can I use this and this and this instead of the PyCom devices, and obviously yes, you can. We do recommend one kind of hardware. And you might understand why, if as you see the discussions are going now. I mean, if you have a specific problem with the sensor, a lot of things are easier if there are 100 other people that are working with the same kind of hardware. So we speed up things a lot in that case.
Yes.
So
one solution or one problem that is solved by one TA or one student,
yeah,
that might help 100 others.
Yeah, and you are all working toward something greater, I think, because what is happening at the same time when you are doing the workshops with the TAs is that all the repositories for sensor libraries are getting tested in real application. I mean, when you're having a problem, a TA or someone else will try to help you, and when they have done that, there is obviously a new way or a better way of doing that, and that will be pushed to our GitHub repository. So we are updating and actually creating new material as we go. That is really nice, I think.
Yeah. And then there is this new channel on higher grade, #higher grade.
Yeah.
And I think our TAs already announced for all of us to sign up who wish to have higher grade.
Yeah.
And we counted around 20 people signed up so far. So I guess more people will join in. But then there was some questions on what do we mean by higher grade?
Yeah, maybe we could, I mean, if we just look at you could probably just look at the study guide. You're showing that now. That's great. So if we scroll down to, let's see. So those are the formal requirements. So higher grade, that is everything, that is an A or B. We could, first thing we say that, I mean, the normal grade is a C. So first we sort that definition out. If you do I know that we haven't really specifically talked about the tutorial. If you're interested, all material is already up, but I am going to cover more specifically on the tutorial. But that will happen in I think 2 weeks will be a pretty good time, because then it's actually the time when you're all starting to work more toward that. But we will have 2 levels on the tutorial, so it will be a grade point system. You can already check it out, but it will be very, very clear that in order to get a higher grade, you need to do certain things, and that will be super clear. Explain the choice of database. That is nothing that is required of you if you're not aiming for a higher grade. You don't need to care about the kind of database or so. But if you want a high grade, you must at least be aware of what's happening in the backend and give some kind of explanation to why you did what you did. So that's really what. So it's not about how many sensors. I mean, you could have a pretty simple application and have several sensors connected to that. That doesn't automatically mean that you're getting a high grade. You can also have just maybe one simple sensor and still get a higher grade if you cover all explain a lot more on your application. But generally speaking, I mean, those projects that ended up at a higher grade scale last year were more aimed for like creating some kind of automation also in the cloud. So not just presenting data, so not just presenting a temperature value, but maybe processing some kind of thing on the device. Maybe the device itself is doing some kind of logic before sending it. That is something that is a little bit more complex. And especially if something happens also in the cloud. Let's say that you have a function, or you build something with Node-RED, or you put some rule-based system or make some kind of logic, which happens also somewhere else. Then we're into something that is more complex.
So basically you go one layer up to the application layer also.
Yeah, but as there are so many ways of doing this, I mean, it's super hard to say that, okay, this is an A, this is an B. So to make it very, very clear and easy. So if you only do like, if you want, I'm happy with the C level. Well, do your something that involves some kind of sensor data that is transmitted over to the internet and displayed there. You have to do it in a reasonable good way. So you actually write a tutorial, a report, and you do your quizzes. You'll end up with a C. And and the peer review, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's included in the tutorial part. So, and if you want to do a higher grade, what is obvious from this list that you have here is that, well, you're supposed to do a presentation and a demo video. That's super clear. So all those of you that are that want high grade, you're supposed to have do a presentation or a slash demonstration video. Last year, not everyone could attend, so we actually made it possible to have a pre-recording. But that is one thing that is obvious, and that is also part of why we want this to be announced in advance. We need to, I mean, if there is 100 people already wanting a high grade, well, we have to plan for that. So, that's really one of the reasons. And also, just talk with the TAs. They might not be super helpful always on exactly this is an A or this is a B, but they can point you in the right direction and say that, okay, this is a complex project. It's higher grade, no problem. If you really want to know, is this an A or this is a B? If you're really like concerned about that, ask me and Francis. We'll somewhere on the line we have to decide. It's our headache, but I see it very pragmatic. We're all here to learn. Actually, I don't think you should care too much about the grade. It's about your learning journey. Yeah. So for me, I mean, you can get like any grade. It's really up to you on what you want to do. And I am happy to give you a grade based on the criteria that we have chosen. And that's because the formalities are, we're required to do that. So
basically, I mean, since we're talking a lot about tutorial, on the same study guide, you can find a link to the tutorial from the previous year. This year, it might be more or less same, but there you can see further details. But as Fredrik mentioned, we will provide you some more concrete information on tutorial in another separate video. So stay tuned and we will come back with more information. Yes, I think there was a question about if people can get inspiration from the previous year project, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you can, but make sure that you know what you are doing. So that's the learning objective for this code.
Yeah, and exactly, and it might be hard. I mean, there was a lot of projects last year which was maybe not super advanced, and then you might get into the area when your project is more or less the same as something else. and you might think it's hard not to plagiarize. Last year was the first year we had the course, so we didn't really have to think about that very much. But this year, I think we need to at least think about it. But you shouldn't copy anyone else in any kind. And if you copy code, if you use someone else's code, make sure that you reference give credit. So that's really the most important part. You're free to use whatever you find out there. You need to write your tutorial by yourself. Obviously, that's how it works. That's just how it works. But let's say that, Francis, you have written a really good program that I want to use. Well, no problem. If you have it, if your license allows it, and if you have created something that is free to use, but don't forget to credit Francis in that case, or whomever it might be. And
yeah, so we also provided some good examples from the previous year. So obviously, I guess many of you looked at those examples and want to do a similar project, but make sure that if you are trying to replicate those projects, make sure you understand every bit and pieces and do it yourself, rather than taking their code or taking their report or tutorial or so on.
Yeah.
And then I guess we answered the question on what do we mean by higher grade. And
yeah, and let's say start with this. Do you want a higher grade? Yes or no? Then just apply and ask for a higher grade and discuss with the TAs, and it will sort itself out. So don't. Well, I mean, you're already on the list of a high grade if you want a high grade. It's not that hard.
And even if you change your mind after registering yourself, you can always change your mind too. So
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
There are many challenges, we understand.
Yeah. And I know that we made exceptions last year of people that changed their mind on, like, okay, I want a high grade, I didn't know it before. Obviously, that's possible as well. This is a way for us to help you to achieve a high grade rather than like, and also planning. So it's really just a way of making it easier for everyone. That's at least how we see it. So.
Yeah, I mean, we were always mentioning that grade is just the formal part of the course, so it's all about fun and learning. So that's the message. And then that was about the last week and plans for the next week. So on Monday, we have this guest lecture on Sensor Online by Johan Stenström.
Yes.
And I guess you already have some background information on Sensor Online.
Yeah, Johan Stenström. This is from the industrial side of IoT. So they have their own IoT platform, just as DataCake, but they are focused on industrial applications. So it's much of a consultancy firm. They're based in Skövde, as far as I understand. And they have their own platform, but this is not a platform which you can sign up online. It's an industrial platform which many customers that wants to own their own data, they buy their platform. So it's a software you can run on your own server or host it whatever you like. But and he's going to talk about. Obviously, he's going to talk about the platform, but it will be more from the industrial application level. What kind of IoT applications are they helping customers with? So DataCake was much, okay, we are building this software. That was their core business, and they have this nice looking platform that everyone can just sign up to. But then we have these other things that, okay, we have this industrial sector. How does that look? So more business facing. I got a question from Ringström. Actually, this will also be a business, but I guess that it will, at least then in my idea, is that we will have a very close look into the application area. That's at least what I have in mind. So I'm not sure if that was as a question as maybe Sebastian can extend that question so I understand what it means. But yeah, absolutely, it's a business. And next, we have one of the biggest growing networks in the world today. So, and we're going to have the things industries the next week, but those are now we're going into the LoRaWAN section of the course.
So he refined the comments. He said you said industrial sector focused, so more designed towards businesses. So is it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think I misinterpreted the question. Is that, but yeah, it's. I think that IoT AB, this is one thing that I'm actually not 100% sure, but I'm almost sure. As far as I know, I've spoken with you a couple of times before. But yes, I think their core business is like the industrial sector against businesses. So and the application areas of IoT in that sector. So what I think that they are doing much more than what exactly like DataCake or other companies are doing is creating custom solutions for their customers. So from our end in this course, this will give a really interesting perspective of that sector. We have an opportunity to look into what happens like business to business sector as well. So not only as consumers of the IoT.
So it's also similar platform, I guess, to Kalmar Energy that we had as a first lecture.
Actually, I think that Kalmar Energy and IoT AB, they have worked together in some extent. At least they well, I'm not sure about the details, but yes, absolutely. They're not using the platform, but that could be a customer or maybe is a customer. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then on Wednesday, we have this interesting talk by Timothy on helium. And I guess you are already close to an expert on helium.
Yeah, this was a network which didn't exist for Europe a year ago. I think this is particularly interesting in this area as things happen very fast in the IoT area. You might have already, I might have said that a couple of times before, but it is interesting because the landscape is really evolving, sort of like as we speak. Things are happening all the time. New technologies are coming. There are trends in everything, but last year, think about this time last year, they only existed in USA, not even in Canada. This company Helium, that is, they have a LoRaWAN network, so it's really exact same technology as the Things network, as Actility, as ThinkPark, and a lot of other LoRaWAN networks. So it's based on Semtech and that proprietary. Oh, sorry for this technology, but it's growing very fast, super fast, and they do have an interesting business model where people are buying their gateways and getting paid for it by cryptocurrency. So as a part of building an application or doing a course in IoT, as we're doing now, this is really an opportunity for us to use a new LoRaWAN network, which is not only local in Kalmar or in Stockholm or in Berlin, but you'll find it all over the world, in all big cities in the world as we speak, and it's growing extremely fast. So that will be an interesting talk. I am sure of it. So we might actually talk about cryptocurrency on Wednesday. Let's see. I guess we can't avoid that. So
basically, LoRaWAN is the future for IoT. That we might acknowledge.
Yeah, that is one thing that I would probably want. I never want to be certain those things. And we as academics, Francis, everything. Our standard answer to everything is it depends. But it seems that LoRaWAN has really gotten a lot of traction in the IoT area the last couple of, I would say, years. At this moment, it's very big.
And then, yes, on workshops. So we have 2 workshops again, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. And this week, of course, many people already started playing with PyBirds and other cloud-based platforms. But I guess this will be dedicated on sending data to any other cloud platforms over Wi-Fi or LoRa or whatever network you want to use. And then also visualizing the data. And this week is basically one of the crucial weeks for workshops.
And then also one thing that we probably can mention, I think it was discussed a couple of times, but this is the time when we can answer questions and discuss things. But I think there was a comment that a lot of things happened in the course that, this can never be 50% course time, like study pace. And maybe not, but this is just for this and like these first weeks. I think the tempo is pretty high now, but it will slow down. It will be less things happening, like in a couple of weeks. You're starting to work on your projects, and there might be a little bit of a slower pace with new stuff. And why we devised it like this is to try to put at least a good base so you can start working on your projects. But I think that many of you will work even more during the project time. So, but that's really up to you. But
yes, I think that was more or less we wanted to discuss. Do you have anything in your mind?
Let's see. It's a question here. If I've connected a sensor and followed workshop 2 and 3, I'm not falling behind, right? That's correct, Dennis. That's correct. And David has already answered. So if you've connected a sensor and you've installed an Atom and gotten everything to work, and you do understand like the basics of how to write your Python code, you're really not falling behind, not at all. There are some bits and pieces which are a bit more, I would say, harder when we go into the details of everything. And you will experience that the TAs and me and Francis and all of us might not always give an answer. There are so many ways of doing things. So, why isn't this working? That kind of problem. Well, I don't know. We'll have to sort it out. It's a lot of those things that happens during the way because things are getting complex pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
But for the C grade, don't worry. It's PyBytes. It's some kind of low-code IoT platform. Those of you that want to go further on, well, please do. And there is also the project inspirations. Look at HackMD from last year. You'll get a lot of inspiration from there. There is also an inspiration channel in the
Discord.
In the Discord. And if you really don't know what you want to do at all, well, just pick something that you find interesting and do it, and you'll be fine. But I would say that try to apply the area of IoT on something that you are interested in. So if you're interested in gardening, we'll do something with IoT and gardening. If your bike was stolen, well, and you're like really angry about that, try to do something with IoT and your anger on bike thefts.
That's your bike,
yeah. So and it doesn't have to be something that is, I mean, you might think that, okay, this is not useful. Like, I mean, if you're creating something and you end up with this spaghetti, as Anna Förster talked about, you end up with this weird looking thing with a breadboard and some things that, and you might think that, oh, this is not useful in real life. Maybe it isn't useful, but you have learned a lot doing it, and it might be useful. So this is a course about you learning. There are devices for things that are already on the shelf. You can go out and you can order them, as I mean, we've talked about, but that's not the point of this course. You should actually be able to build something for yourself, because that knowledge itself gives an understanding on also what you're buying if you're buying something off the shelf later on. So
yeah, building from the scratch, that's the idea. And we got some couple of questions as well. Okay. So if you have any final questions, you can ask, else we might end the stream in a couple of minutes. If
yeah.
And have a nice weekend, everyone. Yes, you wanted to say something, Fredrik?
No. I always feel so awkward when it's getting quiet. So that was more of a that kind of sound.
So yes, I think we are clear for our next week plan, and this week was a pretty productive and active week for all of us. So with that comment, have a nice weekend, everyone.
Yeah, maybe we could just mention something that there will be more material out there. So I mean, like learning material on things that you have thought about. People were asking about MQTT. Actually, you have a plan on MQTT and webhooks, REST APIs. So there will be more material that are going to be distributed. Don't worry. Everyone is so eager to learn, and we're super happy about that. And I've seen that a lot of like learning material from other sources. I know there is a great tutorial on MicroPython from, I think it's Unexpected Maker or something like that. It's a YouTube channel. Just Google MicroPython on YouTube and you'll be sure to find it. It's great. It might be a little bit outdated. I think it's 2 years old, but in general, it's great. So, and have you seen the guy with the Swiss accent YouTube videos? I'm not sure his name now, but super. And there's so many great videos out there. Please share them in the channel. Please do.
Yes, I forgot to mention. Yes, I will publish 2 more YouTube videos so you can watch on your own time on MQTT and REST APIs. Those were more theoretical, so you don't have to do anything with the videos other than watching them. And those are short videos as well, so it will not be a painful experience for you. Yeah. So with that note, have a nice weekend, everyone, and see you next week.